I I think if you've watched this channel this year, I think you have this impression that I hate Disney. Like I straight up dislike the films that they've made. I don't think they have much artistic merit to them. I think they are rushed. And like I said, if you've been watching this channel this year, I think you would really think I hate Disney. I love Disney. I love a lot of Disney's films. I love Disneyland. I'm a huge fan of the MCU. This year's been a little rough to be a fan of the MCU. I like a lot of their animated films. I like a lot of the studios that they have working under it. And it's just been the case that this year has just been a rough lineup for them. And Strange World is representation of a film that gets the best of Disney and the worst of Disney. So let's jump into this review of Strange World. For those who do not know this, one, I thought this trailer was brilliant. This was a trailer that very much promised like the 1930s radio. It had this big booming adventure of basically these true explorers discovering a brand new, as they call it, alien world or strange world in this case. This is a story of three generations of family. It is the grandfather, the father, and the son. The film starts off with the grandfather and father. They are going on this expedition together to find the new world. The grandfather gets lost in the new world. The father is able to escape. He comes out with this new energy that is able to basically just, the world that he lived in is now powered all by this energy. The father in this case is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he had a rough relationship with his grandfather who is now lost in the strange world. He understands the greatness of him as a discoverer, but as a father, he finds that his father lacks a lot of fatherly qualities. And thus, when he has a son himself, he doesn't want to fall into those pitfalls. He wants to be a better dad than his dad was to him. And in that case, the emotional core of this film really works when it is the exploration of Jake Gyllenhaal's character trying to be a better dad. It really works wonders. And of course, if you've seen the trailer, it's very obvious. The grandfather is not dead. He comes back, and now you have these three generations of family going on this adventure in the strange world. This is a movie of two halves, and it is a movie of a half that I think is good and a movie of a half that is never bad, just not particularly interesting. And I'll start with the not interesting part because I think the strengths may outweigh the negative to large degrees. The negative of this film is I was never found myself in awe of this strange world, of this new world that we're exploring. I thought it looked very bland. I thought it just wasn't particularly interesting. There wasn't any cool design to it. There wasn't a lot of color. I found even just some of the animation to look fast, like just straight up like it felt like interpretations and they were taking certain like landscapes and they were just kind of drawing it quickly and I didn't feel like the detail that I felt from previous Disney movies. So when we're in this new world for a majority of the film, I just wasn't particularly visually impressed with it, which is a huge bummer of this film because that's kind of what this film pitches itself as. It pitches itself as this exploration of this new world. And in that case, it never works in that degree. I also think some of the downsides of this film is what it is trying to accomplish. And that's largely it's trying to be the story about three generations all coming together, all learning to basically love and accept each other. The issue with it is Gyllenhaal's the most interesting of those generations, and then the father, his father, Gyllenhaal's father in this movie, played by Dennis Quaid, I just don't think is particularly interesting in this film. I don't think this character is particularly fleshed out. I never bought this relationship when these two characters eventually have to talk about what's happened in their lives. I just didn't find it particularly emotionally impactful, which that's a struggle for this movie when it is so based on family dynamic and an emotional family dynamic and the emotions fall completely flat to me. That's a big downfall of this movie. Now, there has been a lot of talk about Strange World's representation of the LGBTQ community. For those who are not aware, the son, Gyllenhaal's son in this movie, is gay in this film, and it has been the talking point. I dare utter his name, but Shapiro uh, kind of went on this whole rant around it back in November when this movie came out. this film flopped at the box office. And I think people were unfairly placing the blame on LGBTQ cast and characters and just that exploration and the fact that it is an interracial couple. They saw it as this film being political in nature, or if you want to use the words Ben Shapiro uses, woke in nature. I I think it's a pretty false argument of what this film is. I will just say straight up, the romance in this film is actually pretty tender. It feels very real. It feels very true to the age that this character would be in. The interracial stuff, if you're bothered by that, I mean, you're just bothered by interracial marriage. So F off. I literally don't care. Like, if you're bothered by it, you're bothered by it, but fuck off. I literally just, you don't deserve an opinion or really a voice at this table. Like, I'm not going to engage that one in any particular meaningful way. So, like I said, there's been this, I think, negative buzz on this movie, even if you weren't agreeing with anything Shapiro said. There was just so much buzz on this movie for it just being a huge underperformer, for not having anything integral to say. And it's an issue that I am not blaming on the filmmaker's side. It is the creative aspect of Disney that I believe is at fault for this movie. And by that, I just mean Strange World is a movie that just feels rushed. So in every aspect, it kind of feels like some of the characters are underdeveloped, some of the romance is underdeveloped, some of the dialogue between all the characters and just learning about each other. You don't feel like you have a good grasp on this world. And thus, so you're watching it, and I can understand some frustration with it because it does feel like they put things in this movie to put it within this movie, and yet it doesn't have any true payoff. But then Disney advertises itself like, oh, this is the first film about a gay character within the animation world. That is technically true, but I didn't feel like you guys gave enough to really explore that in any meaningful way. And it feels like you were banking off the LGBTQ's acceptance of this film and to some degree I feel that pandering nature of it in this film. Again, intentional or not intentional, I understand why some people would see this and just think, oh, this film is just trying to be about us and about our lives, but it's only caring about that for the bottom line, for the money, for them to get to have the headlines and just be like, we get to pat ourselves on the back. Disney made a gay character. Yay. Like, I do understand that criticism. Again, I think it's a little bit of a non-starter because the romance aspect of the film didn't bother me, but it is also significantly underdeveloped. It has a sweet moment that pays off with Dennis Quaid and the grandson talking about romance and their first crush. And those moments are sweet, but again, it's just one of the things where it's just like, it's so undercooked, and it's like that's one of the few moments that we get of it that that emotional aspect of it doesn't work, and that's the overall issue with this movie. It's just the emotional payoff of this film doesn't work. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I'm watching the film and it's just like the exploration part of the film is boring. The action of this film is boring. It doesn't look particularly interesting. The animation is never interesting. The character arcs are pretty surface level. You have these interesting enough characters who are brought into this world, but they're then giving nothing to do in it. I don't see anyone really just being taken over or just like swept away by Strange World, which is disappointing because like I said, that first trailer is incredible. I think it's an all-timer trailer. It really got me excited for the film, and it just ended up being a film that I never found bad. I never found particularly good is the issue. I just found it somewhere straight in the middle, average, with some good things in it. I think Gyllenhaal is good in this role. It's just that ultimately nothing pays off in any meaningful way, and it doesn't do anything to advance Disney in any way. It doesn't do anything to bring their future brighter or to introduce any new interesting characters. I think it is the case that Strange World is a movie that will just be forgotten in 5 years. I don't see anyone talking about this film now, and I just don't see it having a critical reappraisal in a few years. So, like I said, some aspects of this movie I liked. A lot of them I didn't even mind. It was just straight up nothing wowed me. but nothing also really particularly disappointed me. So I'm kind of just stuck straight in the middle. I'm giving it a 2 out of 4 stars, a movie that I just simply found serviceable.